It's day 71, December the 1st. By now, Desmond has constructed a tent on the beach. His first 2 nights he slept near a tree, but now that he's a member of the group, he'll have his own tent. Saeed arrives to the beach camp with Sun and Jin. Echo has a vision of Yemi, his brother, telling him he has to be judged. This is widely believed to be the man in black, posing as Yemi, a trick he did with Jack in season 1, posing as his father. Either the monster picked up and used the lighter, or he used his power of fire ignition to turn the tent into a flaming inferno, because we'll see him demonstrating a power like this with Ben in season 5. Immediately after the vision, Charlie pulls Echo to safety before he disappears, having set off toward the Beechcraft, his brother's resting place. During the same night we have a different situation on Hydro Island. Ben and Jason come to the aquarium in white robes. Jack guesses Ben has a spinal tumor from the x-rays he saw. They go out, up the ladder, but instead of going to the main building, they go to the beach, one that isn't facing the main island. Jack is brought to attend Colleen Pickett's funeral. I always found this funeral fascinating. They are all dressed in white, at first standing in a circle. Ben comes by and gives a blessing until they let her go. Instruments are often associated with burials, but the others don't use a drum or anything like that. They use music from the speaker. The others are first and foremost a dangerous cult. And now that Lost is in its 3rd season, we've learned how much the show explores philosophy, history and religion. The island being a blank slate, but has seen the influx of several communities that have come to a place that is, after all, special. The characters have ranged from priests to Muslims, from believing in Australian Aboriginal beliefs to New Age spiritualism. The vast history of the island encompasses so many civilizations, beliefs and myths. The island is a holy place. Like we've seen through history, religion evolves, and the others as a community have copied and transformed several practices seen in religious history. It seems weird that they invite Jack and only Jack to be at the funeral, even giving him the white linen, as if to welcome him into their funeral rites and potentially marking him as one of them. I'm gonna talk more about cults and the others throughout this series, but let's take one example. If we're comparing it with another piece of fiction about a dangerous cult, it is the 2019 folk horror film Midsommar, about the Swedish pagan cult, also dressed in white clothing. It also shows the drastic difference between us and them, as well as them trying to recruit new members. Florence Pugh's character being invited and adorned by this community. Scandinavian folklore isn't that present in this show, but many people started to draw comparisons to it in this episode to Norse funerals, cremating the body and setting it off to sea in a boat. Despite appearances in popular culture, the Vikings had various methods of burials, ship burials being one of them. Burials at sea are common in many countries. This boat almost looks like a tataya, a small boat that has been used in the Philippines for burials at sea. However, the others have constructed it quite nicely, with a pillar in front. This construction at the front could be their way of representing a pyre to suggest that Colleen will travel to the afterlife. This is the only time we see them do this kind of funeral. Danny Pickett doesn't get it. Heck, even an important member of the others, such as Goodwin, is just laid to rot and eaten by wildlife. Maybe the others have different rules on whether or not it's a child or not. I was thinking maybe it was because she died on Hydro Island, but Pickett didn't receive this kind of funeral, unless it was all done off screen. Could be other reasons, whether or not it was a woman or a man. Many religious communities have different practices regarding the person's wishes or their personalities, whether or not it was a murderer, a mother, a child or a witch. The Vikings did that too. What I like about Lost in this case is that it was brought up in a discussion way back in early season 1, in a discussion between a Muslim, a sinful Catholic and a man of science.
Burning the remains. They deserve better than that.
It's not about what they deserve. They're gone and we're not.
What you say may be true. But for us to decide how these people are laid to rest, it's not right. No regard for their wishes, their religions.
We don't have time to sort out everybody's God.
Back to the present. They wear white linen. White is not common in funerals in North America or Europe, but common in Hindu and Buddhist funerals. A Hindu burial is also one that can be at sea, with the bodies wrapped in linen are cremated near the river Ganges. This episode deals a lot with the smoke monster and the dead, even with a title like The Cost of Living. Then this burial practice might have been tied to the smoke monster. Does this mean that the smoke monster won't be able to appear as Colleen, since she was laid to rest this way? And this was maybe instructions that Jacob laid the foundations of back in the early days, but they just simply forgot over time. The smoke monster was able to appear as Alex, and she was simply buried, not cremated at sea.
After you left, I buried her.
It is day 72. Desmond, Said and Locke talk. They believe they can contact the others from another station's computer. Charlie and Hurley come back from the jungle. I find it humorous that they sent these two guys to look for Echo, and not Locke, the hunter who is sitting here and quite recently found Echo in a polar bear cave. Echo is walking around in this area in the thick jungle of Judd Trail, which is the same place where Locke was teaching Walt how to throw a knife. The smoke monster circles around Echo, and suddenly he has visions in the jungle of Emeka, his thugs, and the boy Daniel. This is interesting, the monster appearing as several people, one of whom was never shown dead, Daniel the altar boy. Wait a minute, didn't the man in black confirm that he could only appear as dead people?
He had to be dead before you could look like him.
That's right.
What's this then? If we're going out of the show, it could have been the writers still trying to figure out the rules of the smoke monster, what he can or can't do. But if we go inside the show, I feel like it's either 1. Daniel is dead. Nigeria is a dangerous country. He could have died off screen. 2. Daniel is alive and the man in black can transform to living people as well as dead people. 3. Daniel is alive, but the man in black can briefly give glimpses of people from memories of those he has scanned. 4. It is not the man in black. I tend to veer off to option 3. The man in black can't walk around like Daniel the altar boy. If he had the ability to walk around as living people, he surely would have done so in other situations. I like the idea that he can briefly appear as scary visions, in this case coming from the memories he has scanned from Mr. Echo. So I don't think it's option 2 nor 4. It could very well be option 1 too. Let's go back to the beach camp. Said and Desmond will go to the pearl station, but Locke asks the camp if anyone wants to join. Nikki volunteers. The annoyance of Nikki and Paolo is once again highlighted. It's so annoying that the hero extra is here, right next to Paolo, and he's not in the mission. After all, he always helped out at the caves. With the Claire mission, he was one of the remaining people at the SOS sign, and so on. But no, suddenly it's these two supermodels to the rescue. Echo has moved further up in the jungle, all the way up here east of the cockpit. At the river, the monster hovers over Echo, but disappears when Locke's group shows. Together they'll all move up the valley. I think at this point the monster knows where Echo is heading and will trick him. He'll teleport to the Beechcraft, to the inside of the plane and remove Yemi's body, and then teleport out. He could have gone to the trouble of removing all the stones in the entrance too. Echo is delirious, walking in a different way. Instead of taking this quick route over here, he goes in this direction. So the next time we see the characters, we see them walk in this part of the valley. We might remember this shot from the pilot, when the characters walked to the cockpit. Let's go back to the Hydro Island. Juliet comes in with a cheeseburger.
You have no idea what I went through to make this for you. I killed the cow, processed the meat, baked the bun, and the fries. Try rendering animal fat.
If what she says is true, then there is a point in the recent past where they had to kill a cow, maybe one of Mikhail's cows, processed the meat and made several burgers in her kitchen at the barracks, likely freezed some until she cooked them today, and then traveled to Hydro Island. Why do I mention all of this? Because while Juliet was making her dinner in her home, she decided to make a tape, the one she'll show Jack at the end of this episode. So I believe she did those two things at the same time. While making a burger, she made the video. Ben comes down, he divulges to Jack his intent to manipulate him into removing the tumor. Later in the episode, Juliet comes down, bring her cassette she has already made. Juliet asks Jack to kill Ben during surgery. The group on the main island walk for a while, until they arrive at the Beechcraft. They go down the hatch shaft.
So, what exactly did you see back there? I saw it once, you know.
What did you see?
I saw a very bright light.
Interesting that Locke says he saw it once. He has seen it twice. Does this mean that he only considers the meeting in Walkabout as his one true meeting with a smoke monster, and the meeting in the season 1 finale is just something else? Echo and Locke roll a stone away from the Beechcraft's entrance to find Yemi's corpse is missing. This is the same exact trick that the man in black pulled on Jack, removing Christian's body from the casket. Inside the Pearl Station, they try to open up the panels here. Paolo retrieves diamonds from the Pearl's toilet. Said activates one of the screens and they glimpse Mikhail Bakunin inside the flame before the feed is shut off. Echo sees an incarnation of Yemi outside the Pearl and follows him into the jungle. He comes to this area. At least that's what I think, based on the mountains. In my video on Dave, I mentioned the connection between the red flowers and the man in black, something that is perfectly illustrated here. Look at how Echo turns.
Why now, eh? Show yourself! Where are you? Where?
It's almost as if this red garden just appears. It's so magical. It almost feels like Echo wanders into the Garden of Eden, walking around the Tree of Life, and arriving in this colorful garden, he's lured by the devil. In a different form, the serpent is portrayed as a trickster, but in a role reversal, Echo doesn't sin. He claims the opposite, that he has not sinned. He doesn't eat any fruit, but Paolo does, so that's humorous. Echo gives no confession for his crimes before the vision remarks that he is not Echo's brother. Moments later, he walks away, and Echo is faced by the monster in some sort of serpent form. The Pearl group, rushing above ground, surround his body, and the last thing he says to Locke is, "You're next." Locke's role as an important piece in the big game by the Man in Black is now starting to fall together. That's the last words, but the last image is a flash, a small flash, of Echo and Yemi. There are no flashback whooshes to this. Some have theorized that this is our very first glimpse into the afterlife, the flash sideways, which I wholeheartedly believe. With the episode focused on death, religious images, many tied to the Bible, then I think that it is a fair and beautiful bow on this great episode.